The Toronto Maple Leafs head coaching search is really starting to ramp up as we now have a Kawhi and Shohei Ohtani situation where Toronto Maple Leafs fans are recording people at the airport and potentially leaking the Toronto Maple Leafs next head coach. I want to break that down as well as discuss some more reports that have come out from insiders highlighting who the coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs could be at the start of the season. So we're going to have all that in this episode. But before we do, Darius, if you are a part, or if they're a part of the 80% who are not subscribed, we're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. It's been a goal of ours really for a while, and you guys have been absolutely crushing it, so sincere thank you. And if you're a part of that and you want to hit the button, it would mean the world to Darius and myself. But thank you guys again for your support. You've been killing it. And the Leafs now, we have some interesting situations to discuss today. And let's just start with this. This is getting a little bit out of hand. Todd McLellan, someone took a picture of Todd McLellan waiting to get on a plane to Toronto from the LAX airport. Now, if you followed the Kawhi situation when they were tracking his plane, when he was debating re-signing, the Ohtani situation where all the Jays fans thought that Ohtani was boarding a plane to Toronto, and reporters even reported that. You can see behind me that hits too close to home. But Darius, we have a bit of a situation with the Leafs here now, and we'll get into McLellan in a second. Just what is your thoughts on this? We have actual reports discussing what this is, and it is true. He was on his way or is on his way to Toronto, and he is a lead candidate to land this job.
Yeah, the only difference between this and the Kawhi and Ohtani situation is that this is true. He's actually getting on the plane, and he was actually at the airport, which I thought was interesting. And I think somebody confirmed that this is the case this morning. So we know for a fact he was flying to Toronto, and it was for an interview with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think it's more of just the Leafs doing their due diligence, interviewing everyone they possibly can, and then narrowing down the best possible candidate. I think they already know who they want, but you never know. Somebody might say something that they really like, and their mindset might change. I mean, Brendan Shanahan changed his mind on Kyle Dubas very quickly last year, so anything can happen. But I do think we already know who they want. But this has been a very interesting turn of events, and the fact that that video even came out is hilarious because Toronto sports, only in Toronto sports will you get stuff like that with Ohtani, Kawhi, and now McLellan.
Yeah, shout out to the fan who got this. I mean, that's a right place, right time. Leafs fan in the LAX airport. And you look at McLellan, same amount of series wins the Maple Leafs in the last 10 years. Remind me again why he's considered one of the favorites. And you look at his history. He has made past round one more than the Leafs, but I don't know. It's very interesting, Darius. We know what your thoughts are on Todd McLellan. We'll get into that in a second. But here's some more reports, and this is more so lending credence towards the Craig Berube side. If you're on that side, you want to listen closely. There is some chatter that wherever Berube goes, and I believe he's a top candidate for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is that he has at least one assistant coach set to accompany him. Full disclosure, I can't reveal who that is right now, but he's a former NHL head coach. So whichever team brings in Berube will likely have added plenty of experience behind the bench beyond the boss position. Darius, does this mean that they might hire Craig Berube and have Todd McLellan as the assistant coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs? That I could maybe get my head around.
That's exactly what I'm starting to think is happening, right? That it's possible. Who's an assistant? At first, when I read that, I was like, oh, he's bringing in an assistant he used to have. But then I realized, oh, it's a former NHL head coach. So I wonder if they're going to bring both of these guys in. Because as a head coach, Todd McLellan, I saw the example earlier. I can't remember who tweeted it, but somebody said he's an older Sheldon Keefe, basically, in terms of style, and I kind of see it. So I think that's not the way they can go with the head coach. I think Craig Berube is exactly what they want, like what management thinks the team needs. So I think they're leaning to Craig Berube, at least for the head coaching position. And now I wonder if Todd McLellan was just coming to interview for maybe the head coaching position for sure. Like I said, they're doing their due diligence. But I wonder if now he's going to come in as an assistant coach, because they haven't announced it yet, but there's no way any of the assistant coaches come back from this past year. The special teams were horrifying. So I would imagine that they're cleaning house in that way. And they're just doing, again, I'm going to use it again, due diligence. They're doing what they need to do. They're just figuring everything out, interviewing everyone, taking all the information in, and then they'll make a decision. But I do think it's interesting that Rod Brindamore doesn't have an extension yet either, and everyone's talking about him as well. So I wonder if they take a chance and wait for him to see if he would come in as a head coach. I think they already know what they want, and it's going to happen by the end of the week, but you never know. It's nice to throw some things out there.
Yeah, this is kind of exciting if you're a Leafs fan. I mean, I would not mind Todd McLellan as an assistant coach, especially if you get Craig Berube as the main coach. And you look at some reports from Elliot Friedman. He said that the Leafs started their interview process on Saturday. Berube was interviewed the same day. McLellan will be interviewed today. Friedman made it sound like the New Jersey Devils are going in a different direction and are really interested in Sheldon Keefe. So this is a pretty big report to dissect here. So not only are the Devils probably moving away from Craig Berube, most likely because they know the Leafs are going to hire him, but they're going to go in the polar opposite direction and go and get Sheldon Keefe most likely, which means maybe there's a better chance now than I thought that maybe Keefe is going to be the head coach or will be coaching in the NHL next season. We said it as soon as he got fired that he was going to find a head coaching job, but it seems like it might even happen within a couple of months of his firing.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised whatsoever. It did seem like he wanted to take some time to think things over, but again, I'm sure he's hungry to get back into it. And you don't want to go too long without coaching because you never know what happens. And the Devils, from the outside looking in, that's a perfect team for Sheldon Keefe to coach, to go in and try and get over the hump. So I like that fit for Sheldon Keefe and the Devils. And good thing for the Leafs. Now it opens up Craig Berube to just sign with the Leafs, basically, because it sounds like he was holding out for this, or to at least listen into this position anyway. And I wonder now if the Leafs can kind of take their time with things too, if they know the pressure's off, that the Devils aren't breathing down their neck to sign Craig Berube as well. So I wonder if they take their time and look at some other options as well. But it looks like they're narrowing it down. And I keep seeing Quenneville out there, Joel Quenneville. He is not allowed to coach in the NHL at this point. So I think that's, the Leafs have to move on without that. I don't think it's going to happen in this window. I'm not sure it would happen anyway because his name hasn't come out within the circles. So I think it's Craig Berube, and by the end of this week.
Yeah, and we'll get into this really quick before we go into a Darius potential guarantee here. But it says, but it appears the Devils won't be the only ones interested. And you can see here, this is the exact report in case you're curious. I had some people saying to me this weekend that they think that Sheldon Keefe is a big factor in this job and that Keefe has a legit chance at this if he wants it. I do believe there have been a few teams that have reached out to ask for the Leafs' permission throughout the year. And he is under contract, but that doesn't matter because he's fired. So he has the luxury of choosing where he wants to work while also getting paid. Berube is also a candidate for the Devils coaching spot. But it seems like that might be going towards an end there. And I think ultimately all of us, or most Leafs fans out there, would be fine with Craig Berube, a veteran guy. He has some of the same underlying problems that Keefe did regarding losing in first rounds, but he did win the cup. He'd be a harder-nosed guy. He would hopefully gather the troops, the team around him, because that's something Keefe failed to do. And McLellan, he almost looks like an older Sheldon Keefe as well. So maybe that would just bring back too many memories. And I think that he could be a very good assistant coach, especially under a more veteran. Well, I mean, he's a kind of a veteran coach as well, but under a more seasoned coach like Craig Berube. But any final thoughts on this? Do you have a Darius guarantee that you wanted to throw out there for all the viewers?
Yeah, my Darius guarantee this week will be the Leafs will hire their head coach by the end of the week. By Friday, I would say it's going to be Craig Berube. I don't know about Todd McLellan. I don't want to say for sure he's going to be an assistant or anything. I think they are, interviewing him for the head coaching position, but you never know. Could be a thing that ends up happening. And I don't know how close they are, Craig Berube and Todd McLellan, but who knows? Just throwing it out there. But I do think it happens by the end of this week. I do think it's Craig Berube just because he fits exactly what they think. And when I say they, I mean Leafs management, what they think the team needs at this time. He fits that to a T, so I absolutely think it's him. And I think he's been holding out for the job anyway. He should be hired as a head coach in the NHL at this point by somebody else, but I think he was holding out for the Leafs job. So I think it gets done pretty quickly, and I think they start getting things rolling and getting acclimated with the players.
And Darius's last guarantee was right, so we'll see if this one is right again. But that'll wrap it up. Make sure to subscribe button if you enjoy the content. We're on the road to 10K, and we'll see you guys very soon.